Hi, welcome to this Edgy tutorial. This very short tutorial will show you how to create a graph with nodes and edges and using some control features to search nodes and search edges. So let's start off. First of all, we're going to make a graph to begin with. So I'm going to go into the network tab here and I want to make a new graph. And then my graph's going to be composed of nodes and edges. I want to add some edges. Okay, so I'm just selecting here. I'm going to add, my graph's going to have 4 edges. So I'm going to select 4 edges here from the Edges tab. A very simple graph to begin with. Okay, very simple. It's going to have an edge from node A to B, from B to C, from C to E, and from A to C. Okay, and I want to execute this, and I'm going to take some commands from the Control tab. When I click the little green flag, that's going to execute and create a little graph for me. Let's have a go. There we go, there it is. Looks really beautiful, but there is room for improvement. I'm going to take this away here, and I'm going to actually create a block to define the graph. So underneath the Variables tab, if we go down to the bottom there is Make a Block. I'm going to make a block. I'm going to call it Make a Graph. Choosing this Network tab here, we'll put it underneath the Network tab in this main panel. So I'm going to call it Make a Graph. Make a Graph. Oops. Make a Graph. There we are. Okay, so Make a Graph is going to be created as a block here. And I'm going to move the commands I had out here originally, and I'm going to put them inside Make a Graph. All right, so I've created a block that will create a graph, the basic graph that we see there. But I'm going to change some of its attributes. I'm going to change some of the colors, some of the weightings, etc. So back underneath Edges, go back under the Edges tab here. I'm going to set the labels on the edges. So I'm going to set some weights for each edge. Okay, and just to save me some time, I'm going to just duplicate this because I've got 4 edges. Just right click on the command you want to duplicate. Okay, so there's my 4 edges, setting the label. Okay, so I'm going to set the label, it's very annoying. I'm going to set the label on AB, edge AB, to be 5. The label on AC to be 10. Label on BC to be 2. And the label on CE, I want that to be 1. Okay, so it's nice and simple. Okay, so that's my Make a Graph to begin with. Let's go underneath the Network tab. We'll see the block has appeared here, Make a Graph. Let's grab it, stick it underneath the flag here on the Control. And if I press the green flag, it should re-execute it, and there it is with the weights on all the edges. Okay, I'm not done. I need to make it look pretty. What's the point of having a graph if it's not pretty? Let's go. I'm going to make some colors here. I want to change some of the colors. I want to change the colors of the nodes. So I'm going to go into the nodes here. But before I do, go into the Control panel because I want to loop through each node. And down here, I'm going to take this looping construct for each item. If I left click on the item, I'm going to do it for each node item. Now this is just a label, you can call it whatever you like. And I want to do that for under the nodes. I want to do for all the nodes. I want to loop through all the nodes, and I want to change the color of each node. So I want to set the color. So I'm picking this to set the color of each of the nodes. Node item, I want to set them to be pink. Okay, let's have a look what this will do. We can just click on the Make a Graph. It doesn't necessarily have to be underneath the little control activator here. Make a graph, there we go. Beautiful, pink, lovely. Right, now we want to make another 2 blocks. We're going to make a block called Visit Nodes that will visit the nodes. So I'll just stick this Make a Graph block underneath the flag control tab, and I'm going to go back into variables. I'm going to make another block. I'm going to make, I want it to go underneath the node tab, and I'm going to call it Visit Nodes. Okay, so this is going to be a new tab. Right. So to visit the nodes, I might create I'll create a global variable. So I'll go up here, I'm going to make a variable, I'm going to call it current node, keeping track of where I currently am visiting. Okay, and I'm going to make another variable called queue nodes, where I'm going to queue up the nodes that I'm going to visit, and I'll visit them in order. Okay, so there you see on the variables tab here, there's now current node and queue nodes. So to make queue nodes a queue, I'm going to set it to be an empty queue to begin with. So I'm going to set queue nodes to be an empty queue, and the queues and stacks and other ADTs are under collections. So to make it a queue variable, to set it to an empty queue, there we are. Okay, and I'm going to put some of the nodes in a queue in the order I want to visit them. Okay, so I'm going to push items onto the queue. Maybe I'll just duplicate that to save me some time. Okay, so I'm going to push these items onto the queue in this order. So C, A, B, and I need the variables here. Just want to push that onto the queue nodes queue. Okay, so let's just see what that's going to do. If we go into nodes, we should see visit nodes there right at the bottom. If we pull it out here, we can execute it by just clicking on it. You will notice that we will get some a queue for me here. Queue of 4 items in the order that we put them into the queue. All right, so pretty simple so far. Let's go and modify visit nodes a little bit more. So we're going to edit this, and we're going to okay, so we've set up a queue. We're going to put some items in the queue. Now we want to loop through the queue and do some actions. So we need, from the control panel, we're going to take a looping construct. We're going to take repeat. So we're going to repeat an action until the queue is empty. So under collections, sorry, we need to find, we're going to repeat an action until the queue is empty, and the queue is called queue nodes. So we're going to loop around, we're going to set the current node to be the top of the queue. Right, so we need to get that. So the current node is going to be the top of the queue, and we're going to say what the current node is as well. So we're going to say what it is for 2 seconds, and then we're going to say what the neighbours are of the current node as well for 2 seconds. So we want to say what the neighbours are, the neighbours of the current node. And we want to do that for 2 seconds. Okay, so this is nearly done. So we just need to pop the item off the queue once we've accessed it and done what we've wanted with it to make sure we don't get an infinite loop. So we need to go back in collections and we need to pop off that queue of queue nodes. Okay, so here's our little program, our little block visit nodes, pushing all the items in order onto the queue, all the nodes in order onto the queue, then repeating, looking through the queue in order and doing some actions and popping off the queue so we don't get an infinite loop. So let's say OK to this one. There it is, visit nodes. Let's click on it and see what it does. Okay, so all the 4 items, 4 nodes are put on the queue. C, neighbour C, B, A. Now we're going to node A. Neighbours of A are B and C, B. Neighbours of B are A and C, and that's it. Okay, so we've got 2 blocks now. Make a graph and visit nodes, and we're going to make 1 more block. So we need to go into the variables panel right at the bottom. We're going to make a block to visit all the edges. So we're going to give it a meaningful name, edges. And we're going to call it visit edges. Okay. Alright, so inside visit edges, we want to visit the edges in order of weight. So we need to loop through those edges. We need to control, we need to get a for loop out of the control tab. So we need to go through each edge, and I'm going to rename this item variable to something a little bit more meaningful. I'm going to call it edge item. Just left click on it and you can then change the name of that script. And I want to go through all the edges in order of weight. So underneath the edges tab, I want to go through the edges, for each item of edges of all the edges. I want to sort those edges in order of by their weight, which is the label attribute, ascending. Okay, so I want to go through each edge there, and I'm going to do something, maybe I'll just say which edge I'm visiting. And then I might change the color of the edge. Okay, so I'm going to change the color of the edge as I'm going through them to green. Okay, so there's my new Visit Edges block. It should be at the bottom of the Edges tab. There it is. Let's drag it out. Okay, let me click on it. Let's see what it does. Okay, cheapest edge is CE. There it is, green. BC, green. AB, green. AC, green. There it is. Beautiful. Works really well. Okay, so let's put these 3 blocks together and execute them all at once. Now they're all together underneath the flag. If we just click on the flag, they should all execute in sequence. There's the queue formed, visiting the nodes in the order of the queue. Okay. So now the queue is empty. Now we should be visiting the edges in order of weight. And we're done. Thanks for watching.